Humanex Ventures presents Inside the Coaching Mind. Terry Pettit coached the University of Nebraska's first national championship team in 1995 and put the state of Nebraska on a path to volleyball greatness. Now, Terry mentors coaches, writes books, and gives talks about leadership and team building to corporate and business audiences. Here's Coach Pettit to take us inside the coaching mind.
Thank you, David Young, and I think we have a special treat today. We have Katie Schumacher-Cawley, the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions and the 2024 national champions, and their ace attacker, Jess Mruzik, who also is playing professional volleyball now. And we're going to talk about that championship journey and many other things. But first, I really want to thank Humanex Ventures, an organization that recruits, develops, and mentors exceptional talent. Katie and Jess, welcome to Inside the Coaching Mind. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thanks for having us, Coach.
Katie, what was it like when you woke up the next morning after winning a national championship?
I was tired. No, it was amazing. I mean, it was kind of a blur. It went really fast from the, semifinals to the finals to getting back on the plane to come back to State College. But it was a great feeling, and I'm super proud of this team, and especially Jess, and just the hard work that they put in. But it was we had a lot of family there and a lot of fun, and I thought Louisville was a great host, and it was an amazing event.
Yeah, it certainly was. How about you, Jess? Did you have to pinch yourself the next morning, or did you sleep on the flight home? Or
I did not sleep on the flight home. I think I was literally just sitting there, like, thinking about the day before and the days leading up to the national championship. But yeah, like Katie said, it was like everything happened so quickly, and we were just really lucky that so many friends and family made the trip to come out. So many people from Penn State made the trip, so many alums, and it was just great to be with everyone right after. And then when we got back to State College, there were more people there waiting for us to cheer for us. So it was just really special.
Yes, I'm sure it was. You had the team had a motto, bigger than us. Jess, where'd that come from? Did that come from the team, the coaches? How did you settle on that?
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, they tasked us with just coming up with core values for the program and like mantras or things that just meant something to us, and the coaches completely put it in our hands. But we presented it to them. So it was going to be something that we as a team felt like fit for the season. And it honestly started as something that meant more of like playing for the people that came before us, or playing for the people that helped get us to where we are, and playing for Penn State. It wasn't just about like your personal game or your personal journey. It was all about the team and everyone else who had kind of like paved the way for us. And then like the world just works in weird ways. And then it became obviously something much bigger, and something that we really relied on throughout the season to kind of like ground us and keep our feet on the ground throughout the whole season.
Well, some of the people you were playing for then were on that 1999 Penn State team that Katie was a right side player on, that won Penn State's first national championship, beating Stanford 3-0, and I think that was in Hawaii. Katie, that had to be wonderful. I went back and watched probably an hour and a half of that match, and it really wasn't close. That's the only national championship I never attended because I knew it was my last year coaching, and but really Penn State dominated the match throughout. What do you remember about that event? How much has that event impacted your life? And then maybe the other question is, Penn State had played in the finals the two previous years. and lost. If Penn State loses that match, how does that impact your life? Or does it really not make that much difference when you're competing
Yeah.
at that high level?
Well, Coach, you missed a really good one in Hawaii. I mean, you should have took that trip. No, I mean, it was a trip of a lifetime. I mean, we were down there for quite a few days before we even competed and had a little bit of free time. And some of us had never been to Hawaii, so it was, like I said, a trip of a lifetime. And yeah, we had lost the two previous years at the Final Four, and I will tell you, it wasn't the best team I played on, but I think it was the most focused team. And, we were put in a position to win, and it was great to get it done there and to get it done for Coach Rose and Penn State and the program. But, I think every time you compete, you learn something, and it helps you get better, win or lose. So yeah, the two previous years were tough. And, I think that team, the 99 team, took it, that summer into the fall to be able to be the best we can. And we made good changes as a team and competed really hard and understood the value of competing every day in practice. So, I think that's something I always took with me, is that, you have an opportunity every day to get better and, to push your teammates to be the best they can. And you have a short window of time to be successful in college. And, I thought we did a good job at that.
You had two players in that team that I studied a lot. And back then, we didn't have the resources you have today, where you can push a button and see every one of Jess's attacks over the last 4 years. But so we had to get videotapes. But your setter, Bonnie Bremner, was the only setter that I ever watched over a long period of time where I couldn't see a pattern. In other words, I couldn't predict where the ball was going, except when she needed a kill, she went to Cacciamani.
Yeah.
When- and Cacciamani, I made a list of the 6 players that I coached against that I would have loved to coach, and they were just tremendous players. And Lauren Cacciamani was certainly that player. I thought she could have been, had she wanted to, an outstanding international player. But talk a little bit about those two. They were
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Bonnie was from Illinois. I knew Bonnie and her family, before I came to Penn State, and she is just a fierce competitor. I mean, Bonnie would get on you in practice, and she didn't hold back a lot. So I enjoyed that. I was a player that enjoyed that, and I don't think it fared well with everyone, but she wanted to win, and she did the right things to help her teammates win. And yeah, I mean, Lauren was a heck of a player and a super special player. And I always, I was bummed she didn't go on and play after college, because I think she could have done something really special. But, she got married, had some children, and, she's been to quite a few of our matches and comes back because, she's in New Jersey. So it's always great to see her. And, but yeah, they were fierce, and they were seniors that year, and they refused to lose. And, similar to losing back-to-back years in a Final Four, and, they had it. So no better place to do it than Hawaii.
You played high school ball at Mother McCauley, a legendary program on the south side of Chicago, and I'm familiar with that area. Recruited players from the south side, tough kids, very competitive. How much did that environment impact you as a player and as a coach growing up in that culture?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's who I am. It's, you surround yourself with people that are rooting you on and just as competitive as you are. And, it's kind of part of your DNA. I think a couple players have that. Jess is for sure one of those players that competes all the time. And, sometimes it's hard to pull that out of players, but it's definitely, where I grew up, it definitely molded me. And, I lived in Big Ten country. Everyone went to Big Ten schools and, got to brag about their schools. And I'm just happy I get to brag about Penn State more now, not as a player, as a coach now. So it's great. But yeah, I played on some really great teams in high school and was surrounded by a lot of great players and, not just with me, but players that came before me. And, I played with a cousin, and I had a cousin that was 4 years older than me that went to Northwestern. So I grew up watching her play in college, and, it was just, it was a great experience. And I enjoy going back there.
Yeah. Yeah, everything I've read about you, if it's more than a paragraph, winning is going to be somewhere in the sentence. I mean, I've seen the quote, "I love winning," but my my question is from a coaching standpoint. What How do we coach when we don't win at the
Mhm.
level that we want to? So, when you were at University of Illinois Chicago, you didn't have the resources or the talent that you had to compete at Penn State.
Right.
So, if winning is the goal, what's the purpose beyond that? How can a season be meaningful? Because there's a lot of high school coaches out there, a lot of college coaches that don't always win.
Right.
What's the purpose?
Well, I think it's not, I mean, yeah, the ultimate goal is to, we always say, win our conference, win a national championship, but I also think that there's little wins along the way. And it's with recruiting, it's with players getting better, it's with players, achieving for me, we have players that are going on to be attorneys or dentists or whatever it is they want to do. For me, that's winning too, is helping my players be the best they can and to help them achieve their goals. And not all of them want to play professionally and, have those goals to do that. But, it's more than that for me. And it's their life experience. And, yeah, at UIC, it was, yeah, we didn't win a ton, but, I had players that played really hard that I talk to still today and, appreciate all the little things that we did as a team together. So for me, it's having a team that's connected, that's working so hard, that's there for each other. That's winning, you know. So I think it's a lot of the little things along the way that help teams be successful.
What are some of the things that you learned at University of Illinois Chicago that helped prepare you to be the head coach at Penn State? You were there, I think, almost 13 years
Yeah,
as
I was.
an,
Yeah,
an
I was there
assistant
as a.
head coach.
Mhm. Yeah, I was a grad student there with Don August. I'm sure you remember Don August. I was there with him and then an assistant coach, head coach. But I think I learned a lot about not just coaching, but how administration works. The insides and outsides of an athletic department. I think it's so different everywhere. Um, but I think how to hire players, how to hire coaches and recruit players and recruit the right ones for your program. And, I think every day there was something new that I was learning. And then from there, I did go to UPenn in Philly for one season, and that in itself was a different experience. It was an Ivy League school where there's no scholarships, and I had 26 players on the roster, which was wild. But I will tell you, it was one of the most refreshing coaching years that I've ever had, and I truly enjoyed it. So I think every step along the way, it's whether it's within administration, assistant coaches, and just players themselves that you're constantly learning and how to treat people and learning about different things with cultures and just how people respond.
Um, and I want to get back to that, but I want to ask Jess, what's a deal breaker for somebody not coming to Penn State? In other words, um, if a recruit showed up and they didn't show what characteristic, would they not be able to play at Penn State? What's the common denominator?
I think just like selflessness. I think the whole bigger than us thing really really inculminated everyone on our team, because like it's not about you. You can't play a volleyball game by yourself. And honestly, I feel like that is just the overall culture at Penn State, not just in the volleyball program. It's always about something bigger. It's always about Penn State. It's always about everyone in State College. So I think if you're a selfish person, I don't think you fit into the Penn State volleyball program, and you definitely just don't fit into Penn State as a school and a university.
That's a good answer. What made you want to go to Penn State? You played 2 years at Michigan, actually 3 seasons when you count the COVID season. You had some success there. The team didn't make the NCAA tournament your second year. You entered the portal. How many schools did you visit?
I only visited 2. I was I thought when I was younger, I did a really good job of like not overwhelming myself, and I wanted to bring that into my transfer process as well, because it can be very overwhelming. So I kept the pool of people that I was talking to, and certainly the schools that I was visiting, very, very small.
Are you going to tell us the other school, Jess?
No.
Good,
I think that's
good for you. Good for you. Well, Katie, when you're at Penn and Coach Rose calls you up and says, I want you to come in, be my assistant coach, was that, had you been waiting for that call for several years? Was it something you were looking forward to, or did it surprise you?
I think it kind of surprised me at the time. But I always said if there was an opportunity to go back, I mean, I enjoyed my experience so much at Penn State, and obviously have so much love and care for Coach Rose that I knew we would work well together. So no, I mean, I was at UPenn. I really loved it and enjoyed it. And, Coach called and I went and had dinner with him and Lori, and obviously talked a lot about my family and my goals and the Penn State program. And, it was really for me a no-brainer to come back here, to be with him and to help him and to help the players have the same experience I had. And, it was, it's been amazing. It's been amazing to be back here, and my family's so happy. And, I'm really grateful for Coach for bringing me back in.
Yes. I really thought your first season at Penn State was critical to winning a national championship in your third season. And the reason I say that, and I didn't know the exact numbers until I looked it up the other day, but 7 women who'd started at Penn State left that year, departed the program when Coach Rose left the program. And for you to have a successful season after that, I thought was pretty remarkable, because, recruits look at what's happening now, and they give a new coach maybe a season or two and kind of evaluate, well, what's going to happen here? But had you not had that type of success, I don't know whether you could have built the program to the point it was to compete for a national championship. What are your thoughts about that?
Sure. I mean, it was, we had to bring a lot of players in, and we gambled on some players, and, I had some recruits tell me they didn't want to be a part of a rebuild, and, maybe that gave me a little bit more motivation to be better and get the right players. So, no, I think the players that we got that first year came in and worked really hard and enjoyed their experience. And I think it surprised a lot of people. I don't think some people knew about a couple of the players that we brought in, and they trained hard and they enjoyed their experience at Penn State, and they gave me their very best. And, I told them I would give them my best, and I expected that from them. And we had a great season. And, the following year, I mean, obviously going back to back, losing in the Sweet 16 was tough, but I think it put the team on the right path to understand what it took to get to the next level. Um, and then here comes Jess, and voila, there you go. But no, I think, you know what? Yeah. I mean, I always believed in who we had on the team, and I thought we had a great staff, and the people surrounding the program that helped us get to where we needed to be. I mean, everyone had to help out, and everyone had to be committed to the program. And whether you were the first player on the team or at the bottom, you were expected to help the team win. And I think that was something that we, continue to talk about, that everyone has to make an impact. So yeah, that first year, it for sure helped us. But I'll tell you what, it was really hard bringing in that many players for the first season. But I thought, they meshed well, and I put a lot on the players to take care of each other, and they did a really good job of that.
Yeah. I thought maybe a tipping point for this championship season was the Big Ten preseason press conference in Chicago. And I happened to tune in, and I listened to a couple coaches. And then I think someone asked you, Katie, what your goal was this year. And do you remember what you said?
I'm sure I said to win.
It was more than that. You said win a national championship.
Yeah.
And I loved it when you said it, because other coaches were saying, well, we want to have a solid season, or we want to make the tournament. And I thought, whoa, she's really putting her team out there. Jess, were you at that press conference?
Yes.
Do you recall her saying that?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have that goal, but they don't talk about it. And I think talking about it is the first step to completing the necessary steps to achieve that goal.
You just won $64,000, Jess. That's absolutely true. That if you can't state it publicly, I'm not sure that you believe it's possible. And I loved hearing that. I really didn't pick up Penn State volleyball until that match with Nebraska in November, which was another tipping point, a really critical match, because there are probably 6 teams, maybe 7 teams, vying to host a regional championship. And at that point, it appeared like Penn State was in that mixture from somewhere between 3 and 6. If Nebraska goes in and wins that in a dominant fashion, then you could be looking at something else. You could be looking at perhaps Creighton hosting a regional. It appeared to me like Penn State's approach to that match, and correct me if I'm wrong, was this is a must win. We have to win this match. Is that correct, Katie?
Yeah, I mean, we knew that hosting at home, I think playing at home, but having the opportunity to win the Big Ten, and I think that the team knew that. But I thought the way they prepared, and what we did all week, and the understanding that every match has value, and that you need to take care of your business throughout the season. So, I mean, we had a couple really tight matches during the year. Going out to that West Coast swing, USC, UCLA. I mean, if we would have split out there, it would have been different at the end of the season, So I think the team understanding that, being led by the senior group, knowing that we have to win these matches if we want to have an opportunity to host. But competing for the Big Ten championship, I don't think you have to say much. The team was focused and did the right things and prepared well and took care of their bodies. And, we were ready to go. And I didn't expect anything but a great match. Obviously, that, Coach. Nebraska is always great, and getting to play them at home, it doesn't get much special than that.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I've sometimes said that assuming you have talent, that you can usually slow down a player, but you can't slow down everybody. And in that match, Jess, you know, your production in the tournament was um, otherworldly. But in that match, Nebraska did a good job focusing on you, and they kept you at a zero hitting percentage. But Caroline Juravicius um, has the best match of her season. Think she had 18 or 19 kills, hit over 400. And because I hadn't followed the team, I didn't know whether she had done that before or not. So I got on a Penn State volleyball site, and people were saying, "This is the first time this has happened. We don't know why it happened." Um, you know, you can say, well, maybe she was motivated because she's playing Nebraska and she transferred from Nebraska, but that doesn't give you skills. That doesn't give you arm speed. Um, that doesn't mean that the setter's going to put the ball in the right position for you to be successful. Those things have to happen. And I thought it was a really interesting match from that standpoint. Um, Jess, what do you think? I mean, you didn't let your attack affect other parts of your game that I could see. I thought you stayed in there. And what did you think about Juravicius really having a wonderful match?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were like surprised by her performance, but like we weren't because she does that every single day in practice. So I think that's the piece not a lot of people see. Um, but she's also a lot of people don't like see her personality and her will to win and her competitiveness as well. And she's just a great person and a great teammate. So I remember like before the match, I was just checking in on my two ex-Nebraska girlies, like just taking some deep breaths with them. And I remember talking to Caroline, and before the match, I was like, she's got this. She just had this like vibe and calmness about her, but also she definitely had a fire lit under her, and I knew that she was about to have the match of her life.
Well, her dad had the match of her life. Her dad, they showed him on TV, and he was probably visited every section of the bleachers during that match.
Mhm.
But you know, it was a tremendous match, and there were other significant matches. You came back against Kentucky early in the season, where you were down two and came back three sets to win. I'm sure that had to impact you. You played Pitt, and when you played Pitt, and I would say probably for the first two-thirds of the season, they just seemed invincible. I mean, it just seemed like they were playing at a completely different level than any other team. Katie, what did you think when you saw them up close?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they took it to us in that match, and it was a real eye opener, I think, for everyone. I mean, I mean, they played a perfect match, and I don't think we responded well and couldn't really find ways to score and didn't make a lot of changes. And it was a great experience for the team. We came off of that and went on a nice little run with, starting conference and winning a bunch of matches in a row. But it was a learning experience. It was a huge crowd. It was an amazing atmosphere, and so happy for Pennsylvania volleyball. I mean, I don't know how many fans were there. It was packed, but it was quite the experience. And I think, like I said, it was an eye opener for not just the younger players, but for everyone, the older ones as well, and what we needed to make changes on and how we can be better daily and use that
Well,
as a tool.
well, what changes did you make after you come out of a match? When you sit down with your coaches and you evaluate what we're working on, what specifically did you say this has to be better, or we need to focus on this and we haven't been as much as we should?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think we served aggressive. I thought we were tentative. Our passing was shaky. I don't think, we weren't moving the ball around well. Just the little things that I know this team was better at, we weren't doing. And from then on, we watched a little bit of film of that, talked about it in practice, and then from there it was like, okay, on to the next. This is what we're going to do. So I think everyone learned a little bit from that and came to practice the next day and was focused to move on and to get ready to compete for the best conference in the country, and that we had to do some things and be focused.
Yeah. And I think people think that when a team has a season like Penn State had, that it's a straight line. It never is. I've never known a team that win a national championship that didn't have several points where it almost seemed either in crisis or chaos, and then they regroup and get better. He had a similar match against Wisconsin, and I looked up the stats on that match. I think they had 103 attacks and 3 hitting errors. I've never seen that in the sport of volleyball. I did not watch the match, but you come out of that match, and are you thinking, well, we didn't play well, but was there something about Wisconsin that maybe was more difficult to match up with than, say, other teams?
Well, I thought we played a decent first set, and then after that, it kind of went sideways. You said they had 100 attacks or whatever. I felt like it was 300. But it was, yeah, I mean, Wisconsin's a tough place to play, and we got to figure that out there. Obviously, they're an exceptional team, and they did some really good things. And I try to forget about that match. I can't actually remember. All I know is that sets 2 and 3, we were stunned a little bit and didn't perform. But yeah, again, it's hard to win, and it was another little setback for this group, but also a learning experience, and that we had to keep preparing for our next opponent in Big Ten. It's relentless. So you got to kind of flip it fast, but we have to make sure that we identify what it is that we need to be better at.
Well, you handled it better than I did. We played Long Beach in a NCAA championship match once. And back then we didn't have videotapes, and Tara Cross was running a slide from left front. And, it took me about a week to get back to Lincoln because I was just so overwhelmed
Oh, yeah.
by what happened. Jess, what do players think after you play a team and you just get waxed? And you're a great team, but you get beat by somebody that just overwhelms you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a great characteristic of this group, like the whole season, was that we didn't do a ton of talking. Obviously, we did the necessary film and trying to figure out what happened. The next day we're in the gym, but after that we move on very, very quickly. And we were going to be tested. We were playing at home the following weekend against Illinois, who's a sneaky team. And if you're not on your game or even close, they'll definitely get you. So we didn't do a lot of talking this season, which I thought was interesting. And I had never really been a part of a team like that, but it just showed that everyone's was so unwavering in their stance on this team, and we knew what we were capable of. And it takes a lot of maturity to not let that rattle you, to be able to get embarrassed a little bit and then come back, and maybe we're not playing our best, but we're still working through things that we need to work through and still competing at a high level and trusting each other. I think that was a big thing.
How much was Izzy's development through the season? How much change did you see there that maybe the fans wouldn't understand?
Yeah, I think she developed more as a human and just as a volleyball player more than anything else. And it's tough. Her role was very tough coming in as a freshman, setting very veteran hitters who like know exactly what they want. But she did such a good job throughout the season of listening, and I was lucky that she felt comfortable enough to like come to me and ask me questions and ask me for help and ask for advice. So I thought she just developed more as a person this season than anything. And I think that will definitely set her up to lead the team next year and her years to come.
Well, give me an example of a conversation where you offered advice to her on something technically or something that would help the team.
Yeah, after the Wisconsin match, actually, a few days later, we just chatted after practice, and she felt like she didn't really know how to handle like moments where she was kind of freaking out a little bit, which is completely valid. Like I had no idea how to figure that out either when I was 18 years old. So we chatted for like half an hour, 45 minutes, just on different ways that she can kind of like let herself go and not put so much pressure on herself when like the game and everyone is expecting her to be perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she certainly set well in the matches that I watched in the Final Four. I'm sure it also helped her transitioning from high school and having a sister who was on the team, and so she was probably more familiar with the culture than certainly the average player coming from high school into college. Katie, who trains the setters on Penn State?
I worked with Izzy this year. Myself and Brian, one of my assistants, work with her. But I've known Izzy for so long that it's been it's easy to have conversations with her, and she put the work in. She came a semester early, so I think for her being there in the spring with the senior group really helped. And so once we got going into the fall, it was a lot of those questions were answered, and she felt like she had a voice. I think it's tough being in that position with such strong leadership already, but she's got to be able to lead a little bit on the floor, and she did a much better job throughout the season.
Well, you advance to the Final Four, you play Nebraska, and you know what I'm about to say. In the fourth set, Nebraska's up 22-16. And it was an odd match in some ways. To me, it was streaky. I mean, Penn State scored several points in a row. Nebraska scores several points in a row. And I'm watching it, and I don't watch it like a normal fan. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. But so part of me's thinking, well, Nebraska hasn't played well, but it looks like they're going to escape when it got to be 22-16. And then there were several unforced errors in a row. I believe Taylor Landfair hit a ball wide. I think there was an attempt at a dump that was blocked, a back row attack error. So initially the changes were errors on Nebraska's side, but that flipped a little bit once Penn State started to get close. Then the difference was Penn State had significantly more kills. And I went back and looked at the stats for the match, and it's a little bit surprising because I think Nebraska fans might be thinking, well, we outplayed Penn State. We should have won that match. But when you look statistically, that's not the case. Penn State hit 100 points higher than Nebraska in that set. And once that set was over, though, I thought it was going to be very difficult for Nebraska to come back in the fifth set. The momentum all appeared to be going in one direction. The score was 15-13, but I don't know that I felt that during the fifth set. A couple questions here. After the third set, or after the second set, Katie, you've got a little bit of time to talk to the team. You're down 0-2. What do you say? Or what did you say?
I don't know if I remember that one, Jess. No, I mean, I knew if we can serve and pass well, that we'd be able to find some ways to score. And We had to stick to the plan. I thought we had to run the middles a little bit more, but once Jess started scoring, it was, hey, I would set her every ball. But no, I think it was, we made a little bit of adjustments in defense, backcourt defense, and the mindset had to be, let's just be aggressive and do the little things well, and that we would find ways to score. And yeah, they made some unforced errors, and I think there's always a window of time in a match when you can take over. And I think we took full advantage of the errors that they made, and then we were scoring. And I agree, the momentum was definitely in our favor, but I did feel the 15-13 in the fifth. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I knew the team was feeling good and feeling confident in their skills and their abilities and trusting one another and what they were doing. And I had a great feeling about it.
Yeah, I looked at Jess's stats over the last 5 tournament games, and I don't know, you had 300 attacks, averaged 5 kills per set. During the conference season, your attack percentage was 228, but in those 5 sets, it was 280 something. So, I mean, you hit 60 points higher in the final 4 than you had during the season. The other thing I really appreciate about your play, Jess, is that I didn't see you make 2 unforced errors in a row. And sometimes an outside hitter will go up and get blocked or miss the hands, and then it'll turn into 2 or 3 errors. But there's no question you were the X factor in that match. And, your team, you certainly had a great co-partner in Cameron Hanna. She also had an excellent match, but certainly the energy was coming from you. When you went into pro volleyball, in the matches that I saw initially, I saw that same energy, that same level of confidence. So where did that come from? How did a really good All-American player become the dominant player at the most critical time?
Yeah, I think it was more about just trusting myself, and there are not a lot of things that you can control during a volleyball match, or just in sports in general. But one thing that I have always taken a lot of pride in is my preparation and how I practice, and how one of my coaches at Michigan used to say that being a Big Ten volleyball athlete is a 365-day commitment, and it really is. So I take a lot of pride in like the choices that I make when I'm at home, what I'm putting into my body, making sure I'm sleeping enough, stuff like that. So being able to trust that when I get into a volleyball match that I've done everything possible that I can do to like put myself in the best position, and that allows me to play free.
So no assistant coach or coach came to you and said, Jess, if you don't play with your hair on fire, we aren't going to win this match. That didn't happen?
Absolutely not.
I was thinking it though. No.
Well, a couple other questions I need to ask. I know that Coach Rose was fond of the pit drill. And I was too when I was coaching. Does Penn State still have the pit drill?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We fly around and dig some balls. Yes, we do that.
Well, for people that don't understand, it used to be that one player would be digging all the balls and the rest of the players would be in a circle around them, and you just would. And when players gained confidence, I remember Val Novak started laughing at me by the time she was a junior, because she knew that no matter what I did, I couldn't break her. She was going to enjoy the drill. And so the player wins. Final question I want to ask both of you. You go on and you win the national championship in 4 sets. Unfortunately, De Beer was not able to play, and boy, what a player! I love her mindset. There's another player that I would have loved to coach, but Penn State was clearly the best team in the Final Four. You two run into each other 30 years from now, 50 years from now on the street. Um, Katie, what are you going to say to Jess?
Gosh. Well, didn't we have some fun? And, I'm so proud of Jess. I'm not just because she's a great volleyball player. She knows that. I mean, she came to Penn State and totally committed herself to this university and to the program and to her teammates. And, she's going to have a long pro career and get to make choices that she wants to do. And, I'm happy she's a Penn Stater and just excited to see what else her future brings, and know that she'll have so many choices and she'll get to, pick and choose what she wants to do. And whatever team she's on, I'd want to be on her team. So I would, I'm just, I'm so happy for her and happy that I had the experience to coach her and to be with her and her family for these last couple years.
And Jess, in September, Katie comes into the team and tells the team that she's been diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. Um, how did the team respond to that? How did you respond to that? How did her journey impact the team for the rest of the season?
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, we were like in film, and that was certainly not something that we were expecting to hear. So I think a lot of us were just kind of shocked at first. Obviously, we were all very sad. And then I can't remember when our next match was, but we talked before, just in our little huddle right before the match, just saying that, like, even if she doesn't want it to be about her, like, now it is about her, and showing up for her every day, and winning for her in this program. And she was so, like, unwavering in who she was, that it was really inspirational to be a part of that journey, because we knew exactly who we were getting every day, no matter what she was going through, no matter if she was missing a day or two of practice. She would always come back the exact same Katie that she left. And it just put into perspective that, like, this is just a volleyball game, and we're lucky that we get to play it with these amazing people at this amazing university. And sometimes the moments in volleyball can seem like the biggest moments in your life, especially when you're playing Nebraska in the national semifinal and you're fighting for your life. But sometimes, like, real life outside of sports is just a lot heavier and a lot different. So we just kind of used it as something to kind of put into perspective that this is just a game, and we can play free and be ourselves, and kind of love the journey along the way.
Yeah, Katie, it was evident to people that watched your team, that team was playing for you, and they played so hard and so well. But you can't just choose to do that if you really don't love the person, and if you really don't appreciate what she stands for and how much she's given to you. I know I appreciate it. I thought everybody associated with the program did a great job. I'm sure Mike was critical in this as well. I know he, not just in sport, but as a husband and your family. What's your situation right now? Are you through chemo?
No, I have one more chemo on Monday, the 10th, and then I'll have surgery in March. So I'm at the end of this and looking forward to putting this behind me for sure. So, but no, the support has been overwhelming for sure for me, and I'm very fortunate. The care of the athletic department, our athletic director, and my husband and my mom came and moved with us here, and so I've just, my family's been amazing. This team has been amazing, and my coaches on staff and just everyone affiliated with our program. I mean, they all stepped up and did everything. And, I think a lot of it was because we had this senior-led group. I mean, we had 5 seniors on this team, and they told everyone how it was going to work, and everyone fell in line, and that's how it worked. And I'm grateful, and I'm proud to be a Penn Stater, and I'm proud to be a part of these women's lives.
Well, we're all thinking about you, and given your energy and your commitment and your mindset, I'm sure you're going to come through this in flying colors. And thank you so much, both of you, for being on here today. I'm sure there's a lot of people are going to enjoy hearing from you. And I also want to thank Humanex Ventures again, because without their support, we couldn't do this. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody again. Thanks.
Thanks for having us, Coach.
Inside the Coaching Mind is presented by Humanex Ventures and is pleased to be a part of the Learfield Varsity Podcast Network. If you're on Facebook, look for the Inside the Coaching Mind group and join a vibrant discussion of volleyball and leadership. TerryPettit.com is where you'll find Terry's books, writings, and downloads, as well as subscription links for all your podcast apps.